Do you have the #1 runaway bestseller as part of your homesteading library? Introducing the Food Forest Bible, How to Create a Food Forest, Sustainable, Self-Managing, Natural Food Production for Self-Sufficiency and Food Security. We all know the system is broken, but food, sovereignty, and survival are up to you. Will you comply or defy their plan for us all? You will own nothing, eat bugs, and be happy, or so the system says. Is this why America's largest food processing plants and food supply plants keep burning down? Do you really think this is a coincidence? Of course not. The system is telling us right to our faces what they have planned for us. You have a choice. Comply or simply defy their plan for us all. Defy the system's plan and execute your own plan. Abundant, safe, secure, natural food supply. Introducing the Food Forest Bible, this bestseller by Jovan Hutton Pulitzer is the single most complete, executable, easy-to-follow plan for sustainable, self-managing food production for self-sufficiency and food security. For the first time ever, a coffee table, heirloom quality, full-color book which unlocks the ancient secrets of creating a food forest. Imagine planting in a way which requires no digging, no pesticides, and creates massive ancient food abundance. No fooling. Food forests are the ancient secret to planning and planting once, and have your own Garden of Eden, which will feed your family for decade after decades. Buck the system. Buck the New World Order and order your very own copy of Jovan Hutton Pulitzer's Food Forest Bible. Learn how to create a sustainable, self-managing, natural food production for self-sufficiency and food security for your family. Side yard, small yard, backyard, backlot, or even lots of acres. The Food Forest Bible works for everyone. Order on Amazon, hardcover, or softcover. Buck the system. Don't comply. Expertly defy the system. Get your copy of the runaway bestseller, The Food Forest Bible, How to Create a Food Forest, Sustainable, Self-Managing, Natural Food Production for Self-Sufficiency and Food Security. Now.
King Xerxes offers his respect, ma'am. All he asks is that Sparta kneels a simple bow and your people will be spared.
Don't call me ma'am.
My apologies, miss. Xerxes is generous. He only wants your loyalty. Surely even a delicate thing like yourself can understand that.
I said don't fucking misgender me!
Ma'am, calm down. No need to get emotional.
It is sir!
Have you gotten your copy of the best-selling book, Countdown to Chaos? The Silent Federalizing of Elections? On November 3, 2020, something happened in America. Something that caused millions of citizens to stop, stare, and ask one terrifying question. What just happened to our country? That night, America watched as confusion spread across the nation. Vote counting, delays, questions, accusations, anger, silence, censorship, division. And when it was over, one thing was undeniable. America was not the same. Trust in elections was damaged. Trust in the media was shattered. Trust between citizens was pushed to the breaking point. Countdown to Chaos is not a casual read. This book will make you mad. Then it may make you sad. And then it may make you furious. But anger is not the problem. Unfocused anger is. This book takes that confusion, that frustration, and gives it direction. because before people can act, they must first understand. Inside Countdown to Chaos, you are taken on a chronological journey through the who, what, when, where, why, and how behind the modern election system. How was the system built? Who influenced it? When did it change? Where did the power shift? Why were so many Americans left with unanswered questions? This book asks the questions many people were told not to ask. Was the chaos accidental? Was it predictable? Was it manufactured? Could anyone have known where an election was headed before the public results were called? Could election data be viewed while the process was still unfolding? Could systems be vulnerable? Could outside actors, insiders, institutions, or networks influence outcomes without the average voter ever knowing? One side shouted, the election was rigged. The other side shouted, there is no such thing as election fraud. But slogans are not answers. Mockery is not evidence. Silence is not proof. Americans deserve more than talking points. They deserve facts. They deserve timelines. They deserve documentation. They deserve the truth. Countdown to Chaos, The Silent Federalizing of Elections, is a deep research dive into the questions that still haunt millions of Americans. It is carefully researched, it is presented in chronological order, and once you see the system laid out step by step, you may never look at elections the same way again. But be warned, do not open this book if you are comfortable staying asleep. Do not open this book if you cannot handle hard questions. Do not open this book if you still want the blue pill. Because once your eyes are opened, there is no going back. Get the answers, follow the timeline, see the system. Read the bestseller, Countdown to Chaos, The Silent Federalizing of Elections. Available now. Get your copy today.
Hey guys, welcome to the program. You know what? It's nice to be back in the seat. I missed you guys. Today we have an interesting program for you. It's going to be a combination history and facts so you can understand some of the things going on. Of course, you know, Tina Peters has been released. People are already commenting regarding Tina Peters, and I put in chat for someone, Nazim or something like that, Nazim Education. Come on, we'll discuss it, etc. But it's going to be a very engaging program today. A few things, a little bit of housekeeping for you. Over on my locals, now there's two things you need to know, or three things you need to know about my locals. One, if you're on Rumble right now, when I jump to locals after this program, I'm going to go do another program on my locals, but after this program, you can click the red oval to join, and you can join me over there. And two, I provided for download two deposition transcripts of the Venezuela whistleblowers. I've given you the exact transcripts. That's all on locals, and you can download it. Today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. It's a simple proposition, folks. I'm just asking you to go to jovanlovesgold.com. That's it. jovanlovesgold.com. I want you to fill out the form, request your free gold and silver kit today, because now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver. You have to do it. You know you need to do it. You know you need to understand everything about why you should have part of, well, your savings, your wealth, or whatever the case may be, and just a tiny part in gold and silver, because it is always there as a monetary system. It's the right thing to do. Okay? It's the right thing to do. Now, everything we're talking about today has a significant bearing on the midterms. And, you know, we know our elections are messed up, but when you realize that Kamala has been given 7 million more votes, what is it? Yeah, 7+ more million votes since the election. It's all out plain in front of what's going on. And that's part of what we're going to talk about as we basically go over what if it was the machines. You're going to want to hang on for this. Make it to the end. What if it was the machines? That's an interesting question to ponder. We'll get started right after this.
Rennie Good was a gifted soul, a writer and a poet and a mother, wow. She tried to hit an agent with her car, oh no! Pop, motherfucker, now she's gone!
I do have to interrupt. It's ironic, you know, we all get to bebopping with that very catchy tune. It's almost if that tune, you know, you're hearing the thing about the big movie coming up, Spartacus or Helen of Troy or Ulysses or whatever the case may be, and they have all these funky characters reimagining history in the globalist way. It's kind of funny. I love this little clip here of a reimagining, Christopher Nolan, reimagining 300 with Ellen Page, who is now Elliot Page. I love Ellen Page's big breakout movie. Was phenomenal. Cute girl. But she decided she was a dude along the way. So here is the imagining. I'm going to play it for you again. The imagining of her playing, you know, the lead in 300.
King Xerxes offers his respect, Mom. All he asks is that Sparta kneels a simple bow and your people will be spared.
Don't call me ma'am.
My apologies, miss. Xerxes is generous. He only wants your loyalty. Surely even a delicate thing like yourself can understand that.
I said don't fucking misgender me!
Ma'am, calm down. No need to get emotional.
It is sir! Rennie Good was a gifted soul.
This would be my response to that.
Rennie Good was a gifted soul, a writer and a poet and a mother.
Yeah, somebody says she's going to be Achilles, little Elliot Page, Ellen Page, going to be Achilles in the Odyssey. Maybe it's just literal casting. I never thought about that till Slavic, by the way, you wrote that, right? Why, happy birthday, by the way. I never thought about that until you wrote that Ellen Page, the female who's now a dude, Elliot Page, is going to play Achilles in the release of the Odyssey. Is that like a double entendre? Because everybody knows the weakness that could get them killed is the Achilles heel. And she's playing Achilles. Anyway, this is my response to it.
Rennie Good was a gifted soul, a writer and a poet and a mother, wow. She tried to hit an agent with her car, oh no! Pop, motherfucker, now she's gone! Yeah! Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired fuckables with the septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease! You fuck around and find out it's what it is! Jeffrey Pretty was a Jewish homo, started talking shit to protect a chomo. He was getting nicked when he pulled a gun. Bam, motherfucker, now you're gone! Yeah! Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired fuckables with the septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease. Fuck around and find out what that is.
Warning. The following program has been rated Gilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd? Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, guys, welcome to the Crap, Culture, Race, and American Politics. And in this episode, we're going to talk about what if it was the machines? You may have heard that Tina Peters technically was released. We're going to go into this. By the way, there are 2 downloads that go with this program. They're over on my locals, jovanhuttonpulitzer.locals.com, 2 downloads. And as soon as I finish this broadcast, I'm going to hop over to locals. As you know, we just did Mega Marathon Week where I wasn't live. You were catching up on old stuff. I'm going to explain why I wasn't on the air. Okay. So, Tina Peters has been released. There's a few things you need to know about this. Very important. And you've got to understand the context for which this is. One thing of housekeeping real quick. To the artiste out there, I have a family painting. As you know, there's been books written about my family, the heritage of my family, where I come from, my genetics, etc., how long it goes back, and I'm one of these weirdos that have it back, my genetics back to the time of Christ. There is a painting, a very well-known painting. There's been several different paintings done, but this is the particular one I like. But the painting hasn't been very well preserved at the museum level. And so you know that my email is just my full name, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer, no gaps, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer at Gmail. I have a particular painting that comes from my family history. It's a bit of sad history, but here it is right here. And you're basically looking at my grandfather way back on the right, peeking from behind the curtains, where he's having what is effectively my grandmother murdered so he can be with another woman. Now, this back then was a very serious, big deal in the family lines of my family, all the way back, Merovingian, etc. But you can see the state of the painting itself. And I want to have this preserved, meaning I want to have it cloned. I want to have it duplicated, right? And I am looking for someone that might be able to faithfully reproduce, right? Faithfully reproduce this painting. I know there's a lot of places online that you can do it or find it or whatever the case may be, but I'd like to find somebody that's part of the family here, if it can be done. So if in fact you can do it or vouch for somebody that can do it, I need to have this painting for my archives reproduced. And yes, it's a hard photo, but families, as long families, is, there's horrible things, nice things. You've seen even ones that I've redone, which come from the Muslim hordes going to the same area and trying to take over what was ostensibly Europe, and in that particular one, great-grandfather stopping that, which is what ended Muslims conquering Europe. It's the one event. And of course, here we are with Muslims trying to do it again. Anyway, that's the painting, right? It's an obscure version of it that wasn't well preserved. Anyway, you can send me an email if you have the ability. But I'd love to preserve it in oil. Once again, anyway, okay, I know it's weird. We're going to be talking about Tina Peters and Was It the Machines? You're going to hear a lot about this. It might be prudent if you start kind of keeping score, kind of like Yahtzee, whatever the case may be, or dominoes, little hash marks of some of the things going on. And people don't even see the differences or the battle right before their face, just like President Trump battling every state to turn over their voter rolls and then certify their voter rolls, and 21 states not doing it. Main states fighting the hardest are the ones where, of course, Biden won in 2020 and they don't want anybody to look at it, versus what I call the political machine that's now playing up Venezuela and Smartmatic and Dominion and everything else, etc. Right? And by the way, I gave you the transcripts of the Smartmatic Venezuelan whistleblower. You can read them on your own. I try to teach you the discernment, but I'll just let you know, yeah, it's a deposition of an unknown, undisclosed whistleblower. But okay. All of this has effect with the what if it was the machines, and that is what we're going to be talking about. So here's what you need to understand. Tina Peters' conviction was not overturned. It wasn't fully overturned. In the eyes of the law, this is important today, but in the eyes of the law, Tina Peters is in fact a convicted felon, right? Now, what they convicted her on was allowing unauthorized access to voting machines during 2021 to investigate the election claims. You need to understand a few things that are very, very, very important here, which for me are huge disconnects. Somebody who invited on, I guess they didn't answer, right? Said, well, just Tina copied the information regarding the 2020 election as she was required to do by law, and they arrested her for it. That is not actually correct. What Tina was convicted for was, and it has nothing to do, and you got to understand this, and I'll help you understand it, right? And yes, it's very sad that Tina was not completely cleared. Something's going to become very evident to you if you'll stay with me. If you have short attention span, somebody's got a video right now of carrying their puppy in their purse while eating pizza on a New York street. You can go watch that. It's only 30 seconds long. You'll have to struggle to pay attention, though. But anyway, a few things that I'm going to share with you today that have never been shared with you before might help you put a little bit of this into context. But I want you to understand, Tina Peters, literally, and I love her to death, was not tried and convicted for doing her job. And in all of this, we have to stay very focused on the facts. We have to understand every move we do, how we do it, why we do it, and what are the accomplishments and or what are the consequences of those actions. I make no bones about, I think Tina was set up. I was talking to somebody very close to her over the weekend. And they kind of got upset with me, right? Because I talked about Tina Peters was set up. And I talked about that Dr. Franks and his miracle bow tie formula polynomial was crap. The person really got upset. And I said, look, I respect you respecting your friendship with Dr. Frank. That's fine. I'm just talking facts. It's not personal. Well, I got out and I canvassed and I this. Canvassing doesn't put people in jail. But there's a lot of great people working in elections. We can agree to disagree. That's totally fine. But Tina Peters did not go to jail for doing her job at all. That's number one. What Tina Peters went to jail for, she was convicted and got a 9-year prison sentence. What Tina Peters went to prison for was unauthorized access to voting machines and data. And it wasn't that she was backing up her data. No, it was not. That part of it had already been done as a normal course of optics. In a very short condensation here, Tina got caught with so-called election experts saying, hey, we think something happened across the United States. Let's maybe look at yours and maybe you can help us and we can all figure it out. Tina had no problem. Tina's on public record of saying she certified her election. There was nothing wrong with it. But she got caught up in a big promotion of it's the machines and we're going to melt them to prison bars. What's really curious to all of this, because I've said this, you can go walk back. I've done marathons on this crap, but I got to set this up so you understand where we're going. You know, I have no idea, right? I have no idea why anybody on the record with people that are trying to protect their ass and part of the system saying, with Tina saying, no, I can't let you into the system or I can't get access. And people, primarily Dr. Frank, saying, don't worry, we got people that could do it. They won't know. That's a crime. But is that a crime of Tina? No, that's a crime of the other party. I also do not understand why during the act of having people in disguise and accessing the data under false pretenses, I have no idea. I really don't. I just have no idea why Code Monkey or those guys there would be doing FaceTime with Patrick Byrne talking about it, right? And then on the screen, they show enough of the screen to see the passwords to the system, which, by the way, Jenna Griswold did herself. But that was a FaceTime talking behind the scenes, and somehow that FaceTime between Patrick and Code Monkey and or whatever makes it into the public stuff. And then that's how part of why Tina gets convicted, right? So there's so many things for me that cause me emotional and spiritual distress over this, because I don't think it had to happen. Could it have been egos trying to see who's going to save the world and who's going to be remembered to history for the elections or whatever? Look, I have no jealousy to any of that crap. I think it's sad. I think it's a train wreck. My work is in a very specific discipline. I stay within my wheelhouse. I give you the facts, which you can audit on your own. And by the way, folks, you're an adult, and I'm going to treat you like the adult in the room. You can, in fact, make your own damn decisions. That's it. So, setting aside, Tina went to jail for doing her job. I really just need to remind people, propaganda is what rules the world right now. You may not like it, but propaganda is what rules the day, and most people don't recognize it. Here's a little slip in the Gaza propaganda. Yeah, it's a Gaza death of a kid. Here come the sirens for bombs are coming. Oh, crap, the kid resurrects because he doesn't want to get bombed again and killed a second time. Yeah. Or this racket. which is kind of like the election racket.
We are heading for mass extinction. There you go. That's it. End it there. As humans destroy our own habitat. That is the no-holes-barred message from climate change expert Guy McPherson from the University of Arizona. Last time I spoke to you, 2014, and you sort of, snatched any hope of a future from me and my family. It was doom and gloom. Has anything changed since then in your account of things?
Oh, yes. The situation is far worse than it was then.
Okay. How much time does the human race have?
I can't imagine there will be a human on the planet in 10 years. I suspect it'll be...
No, I'm sorry. Did you say 10 years?
Yes, in my out loud voice even. Yes, I can't... we're headed for a temperature within that span that is at or near the highest temperature experienced on Earth in the last 2 billion years. That's at least an order of magnitude faster than occurred during the Great Dying 252 million years.
But you are suggesting then that the temperature increase will be phenomenal over the next few years.
Oh, yes. Yeah, this is exponential change, and we have difficulty coming to grips with exponential change.
Yeah, exponential change. I don't know about you, but I didn't get the memo. We're not supposed to be here, and we've overwhelmed our stay, and we're all supposed to be dead. I play that for you because propaganda rules. By the way, y'all asked for it. I reposted that Gaza funeral again. Here it is. They're videotaping the death of a child killed by the fucking Jews. And people are filming from above, and the sirens come in because there's about to be more bombing. And watch what happens. Well, that's kind of the psychological warfare that we're all involved in. And yes, even this election stuff, there's crisis actors, there's psychological warfare, there's central casting, all the standard crap. Okay? So, getting back to Tina Peters. With Tina Peters, she was sentenced to 9 years. Quote unquote, to try to prove unproven 2020 election claims, which, by the way, legally was correct because Dr. Frank said, I just want to test my theory. It was I need some place to prove my theory. So quite literally, they talked Tina into it. And it remained unproven, etc. Okay. So basically what happened, there's been this battle back and forth to get her out, which I want to happen, and I'm so glad it's going to happen. I don't know what iteration she's going to be in, and a lot of people that helped put her there have become her heroes, etc. That's my own personal opinion. But just the other day, Governor Jared Polis commuted her sentence. He reduced it from 9 years to 4 years, 4.5 months, roughly half. Okay, citing her age, etc. At the time it became permanent, she'd already been in prison for 60 days. She had to issue a statement saying that she acknowledged she broke the law and that she violated the public's trust. Right? That can never be removed from the record, and that's what everybody on the left or the rhinos are going to say. Well, she admitted she was wrong. So she is set for release June 1st. There are certain conditions under her release, and she will be totally fine as long as she doesn't do anything to jeopardize her parole. She can continue to speak as a public figure in election integrity circles. She will not get any more prison time or have to go back to prison unless she violates parole. Good for Tina. I'm glad she's out, but I told you her conviction will never be overturned, and I told you it was going to be hell getting her out of prison, and even the president couldn't do it. So this comes down to Jared Polis. Now, could something be going on? Because Jenna Griswold had the password debacle, and maybe they're going to sacrifice Griswold here in the future and Pulitzer. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Tina's out. But what about this comment? What if it was the machines? And that's where we're going to head with this. I'm going to give you a historic breakdown of, and we're going to use the premise, it was China, Venezuela, Smartmatic, Dominion, a lone programmer, a kid with no teeth, a gamer, every possible thing that could be done of somebody mucking with the machines. Got it? Somebody mucking with the machines. Now, it's obvious that things under law, federal laws, key federal laws, you muck with the machines or the software of foreign actors or whatever this. And then there's federal statutes, and then there's state statutes. Now, what these statutes actually cover are fraud, conspiracy, interference with voting rights, unauthorized access and tampering with the system, and foreign involvement. Remember that, okay? Now, prosecution for any scale, large or small, of machine software-based switching votes, 0. And I'm going to go through this. Keep tab. Or foreign programmer cases, meaning they use foreign programmers to infiltrate American elections, 0. I'm giving you the punchline right away. Now, here are the federal laws that govern all of this. You have U.S. Code 18-241, which is conspiracy against rights. Pay very close attention. There have been no foreign actors at any time throughout history ever convicted on what I'm about to tell you. But remember that, because somebody was convicted. This is material to pay attention. The premise is very simple. What if it was the machines? That's the premise. Okay? Now, if in fact something is done wrong under U.S. Code 18-241, and that, you make threats or criminal conspiracies, or you press, or you threaten, or you intimidate people, et cetera, including social media disinformation, by the way, you can get, by the laws of the books, 10 years, fines, or life in prison if somebody got killed in the process. The next thing is U.S. Code 18, same thing, 245, which is called federally protected activities, which means you can't force somebody, you can't threaten somebody, you can't intimidate somebody voting in federal elections. The next law that comes into this is U.S. Code 52. And by the way, I had to educate lawmakers back in 2020 on this. They didn't even know a lot of these things, but that was keeping records. But U.S. Code 52, 2511? Yeah, 2511 is the National Voter Registration Act. It is up to 5 years in jail if you knowingly deprive residents of a fair election process via fraudulent registration, ballots, or tabulation, right? Etc. Okay? And so this covers if there's fraudulent votes affecting the counties. Next is U.S. Code 52-10-307. That's the Voting Rights Act. It covers intimidation, false information, multiple voting, etc. Then there's the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, which is U.S. Code 18-1030. That's everything related to cyber laws, unauthorized access, tampering with hardware, software, hacking of voting systems. And then there is the FARA Act, the Foreign Influence Act. It's also included in this Executive Order 13848. Hacking, disinformation by foreign nationals, yada, yada, yada. There's U.S. Code 18597 and 594, which is intimidation, general conspiracy, tampering with software, tampering with voting systems, tampering with machines, tampering with hardware, tampering with source code, blah, fickety blah, fickety blah. Okay? In all the related time of history, now pay attention. In all the related time of our elections and these laws being on the books, how many prosecution and convictions have been successfully adjudicated based on these laws? Put it in chat. How many prosecutions, convictions have been, prosecution and conviction, that's two things, have been successfully prosecuted during this time? Well, you're right and you're wrong, because it's 0, yet it's 1. It's 0, yet it was 1. It's 0 if you look at the real facts, but it's what they convicted Tina Peters for. Yeah, that's right. Tina Peters is the only case in American history that had ever been charged on any of these statutes and convicted. The only one. It's going to get more wild here in a minute. Trust me. So you're going, wait, it's the machines, it's coding, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that, it's that, and this, it's Sequela, it's Sequoia, it's Mamatoya, it's multifractifactinals, it's quadriplegic fractodactyls, we've got Dominion, we've got Antifa, if you set Tina Peters aside, there's 0 goose eggs. 0. But the one case they now have on the books, the singular case they now have on the books, is Tina. Now, I want you to go back. I told you a long time ago, when we're bringing out the paper evidence in Maricopa and we're dealing with it in exact details, do you find it a coinkydink that a little over a month later, before we're going to do it, here comes out the Cyber Symposium and here comes out Tina, when we're going to be talking about papers and they're going to turn it to China, Venezuela, Fuckatoya, Krakatoa, and all this other stuff? No. I don't either. Now, I told you it's very conspicuous to me of how fast they did that conviction that came out 1 month before the last election. And I'm telling you, that was to send the message to a county recorder. Don't you try or do anything, work with anyone, or we're going to ruin your life. Here's the example. And that's my opinion, but that's it. Okay? Now, let me go back, because now I'm going to shock you. Tina Peters was put in prison for 9 years. I'm very happy that this has been abated and she's going to walk out of prison. But it also befuddles me that in 2016, during the Russia, which, by the way, set up CISA, and you need to know this. See, when I share this with you, I'm looking at the whole patterns. I kind of see what's going on. It's what we talked about in our book, Countdown to Chaos, which was not about the 2020 election. It was about what they did to get to the 2020 election to make this happen. And most people don't know, and I was telling, somebody that speaks all over the place regarding election integrity, a supposed election integrity warrior. I'm having a conversation with them. And I'm basically going, CISA, right? Cybersecurity, information, all this other stuff. I said, when CISA was put into place, don't you? And they go, no, well, it's been around, like the Election Assistance Commission, right? I said, no, it was only put into place in 2017. It was created out of the Russia hoax. So they quickly created this new agency, CISA, and put it in. Now, Krebs, who came out during the 2020 election as the head of CISA, what did he say? Put it in chat. What did he say? The most safest, a secure election. Do you remember that? Let me tell you why that's important. So this agency created during the Russia, let's get Trump hoax, put in place, even before the election is over. Many states were still counting. Even before it was over, he was on a media tour saying this was the most secure election ever. Now, here's what you don't know, and here's what I'm surprised when I share it with somebody in election integrity that's a supposed leader. I'm going, do you know how the law works? It's not the Election Assistance Commission that actually begins any of this process. The legal authority comes down to CISA. And here's what has to happen. CISA is the only one that can say, oh, wow, we thought there was interference. We think there were bad actors. Something went wrong. Now, it requires that by law. What that trips is then that puts all 50 states on notice. CISA, the governing body, thinks something has gone wrong. What it does is it transfers to the state to saying, you got to get on this. We've got to investigate it. You must have that step. Let me repeat that. You must have that step. Because if you don't have that step, every state, doesn't matter what it is, gets to say, well, CISA says there is no foreign interference. Nothing's wrong. CISA is the gatekeeper. Now, let me ask you a question. This brand new agency, during the time it was Russia that got Trump in, it's what opened up everything. That one statement gave every single state a pass, a legal pass to do nothing. Why? Because CISA hadn't declared there was a problem. And they said it was what? The most safest election ever. That was the single sentence that changed all of our destiny. The single sentence. Now, it is a total shame that I had to let Congress people, sitting heads of Senate, know you have a right to keep these records. Here's what it's for. And at the same time, I'm still telling people in election integrity, 6 freaking years later, here's this one thing. And they have no concept. But we canvass, no, they have no concept. It doesn't matter what happened. It guaranteed no prosecutions because it gave the states the excuse to, well, CISA didn't declare it, therefore we don't have to do it. Except this one case. Except this one case. The one case where they made an exception is Tina Peters. Now, do you find that odd? When the very system structure is created to let the bad actors off the hook, when everybody's screaming, it's the machines, we're going to prison bars. It had already been decided. This got decided for all of us long before we even get the audit, with Krebs coming out and saying it was the safest, most secure election ever. But here's what you don't realize. In 2016, GRU, the GRU, which is Russian officers and hackers, they basically came in and hacked databases and infrastructure and everything else. So did Iran. In 2016, so did Iran. So did Russia. They were foreign actors. It was there. Not a single case, conviction, prosecution, or anything. But yet the one prosecution that falls in this freaking category falls on the shoulders of Tina Peters. Now, I find that very odd because, see, I told you I believe Tina was set up. She was set up to send a signal. It was to tell people to shut the freak up. Don't question. They went right for the county recorders in a red place. Great trauma story. We're going to put you in jail, and they did. Okay? Period. Now, there is one other case that's not about vote switching. So you got to ask the question, okay, if there wasn't foreign entities involved, and we've never brought any case against foreign enemies, and everybody's telling it's Venezuela, it's Serbia, it's Kazakhstan, Fill My Krakistan, it's all this other stuff, right? You're seeing all this directly opposed to what President Trump is focusing on, the voter rolls, where it should be. But you see, influence heaven. No, it was Venezuela, it was this, Sequoia, Smartmatic, Crackamatic, Krakatoa, all this other crap, right? All the stuff, same stuff's coming back. If you take out the foreign actors, and say, okay, well, what about vote switching? We got to at least have a case about vote switching. Do we have any prosecution? We have one. One. So now I've taken out the foreign actors. On the books, one case. That is proposing technical manipulation and tampering with a machine. Pop quiz. What is that case? Who was that conviction? They tampered with the machines. We saw it. One case. Absolutely proven tampering with the machines. We saw the votes switching on TV. It was the machines. They did it on the machines. Well, truthfully, historically, they have one case convicted. Not none. They have one. What case is that? Oh, by the way, it's the same case for Tina Peters. Yeah. In all the archives of all the cases, all the case law, when it comes down to it was done because somebody tampered with the machine, what is that conviction? Tina Peters. Now, do you find that a coincidence at all? I don't. That's not a coincidence. And I've already got thumbs down. How can you have thumbs down for the truth? Oh, I get it. You're a blind idiot and you've been sold the story. And because you can't be intellectually honest, you're pissed. Nobody's a hero in this. Nobody's a winner. None. There are no heroes and no winners in this. It's just the truth. Okay? So why are there so few convictions on this stuff about, why swap votes, they flip votes, and foreign interference, and it was a fractal pterodactyl, a canvas polynomial hemorrhoid? Why is that? Because, and you're going to hate this truth, they say, well, it's not there because we did risk-limiting audits, logic and accuracy test, and we have bipartisan oversight. And so we would have detected it was there, and all of the rules are voluntary. You got it. What the system needs is purposeful, purpose-driven acts. Provable, prosecutable, purpose-driven. Oh, by the way, like getting a drive you're not supposed to have. Using an election official's credentials. And it wasn't you. Now, let me just ask you a question. After all these years and Russia incursions and Iranian incursions and all this other stuff, the only person in history in these two categories I've given you so far that got convicted is Tina Peters. Why did a person who can't testify because they're a CIA asset need other people's credentials to be there? Well, here's the fact. They didn't. Why did they need to impersonate someone? Well, they didn't, because there were other people in the room too. Nobody needed to fake who they were. So the question becomes, why'd they do it? Not a single person in that mix actually needed a false identity or a cover story to be there. So why did they take a person who, ironically, just like Dennis Montgomery, protected asset, can't testify? Why did they need somebody? Why did they need somebody? Okay. Why did they need somebody to go in with somebody else's badge? I'll tell you why. Because the system needs provable illegal acts. So when somebody went in with a badge of someone else, which didn't have to happen, which wasn't even needed, what did magically the county get or the state get? Well, provable acts. When Tina is taken away to the cyber symposium and Code Monkey says, well, I've been told by my attorney this might have been stolen and it might have been a criminal act. Why do you do that? Well, they needed that because that was the message. Who went to jail? Tina Peters. We didn't get PCAPs, but we did get to know who Tina Peters was because of it. See, I'm amazed how many people don't see this. But when you just look at the case, the only thing they can do when it comes to the machines is you've got to have verifiable, provable acts to focus on. Did they take a drive in an unauthorized manner? Yes. But none of the people who did it got in trouble. Did they need somebody basically like impersonation? That's one of the key things. See, it falls under prosecution. You got to show tampering. Well, that's how they took the drive. You know what else you have to say? You show when you can't show illegal voting? You got to show impersonation. That's the conspiracy. You got to have other people do impersonation and the executive get charged. Well, how do they have conspiracy? Tina and all these other people came in. What are the odds that the only prosecutable things that the state needs is you also got to have impersonation in there, and holy shit, they get it. It doesn't matter that Tina Peters didn't take the drive. You got to get very focused on this, folks. I told you they need to show conspiracy. It means Tina got with these people, conspired to get it. She allowed them to do it. Therefore, Tina was responsible. It doesn't matter if Tina didn't take the drive. They don't care. It doesn't matter if Tina didn't do the impersonation. They don't care. They need it to be a conspiracy. What are the odds? In the Tina Peters conviction, they get every one of the focusable, provable acts they need by law. What are the odds? So you're focusing on, but Tina didn't take the drive. Why don't you embrace this was a con? Why don't you embrace they set her up? Why don't you just look at the facts, which I'm trying to give you? Just look at the facts and make your own decision. Next. What crimes do we have regarding foreign election probes regarding U.S. elections and foreign programming or foreign actors like hacking, tampering with software, unauthorized access, etc. Now, those are all illegal under our laws. Every one of them are illegal under our laws. Now, what laws do we have to target that aspect of direct criminal prosecution in courts that we can do it? Well, here's the laws. You need to know what they are. Get ready. If you want to write them down, fine. The first law we have is the CFAA U.S. Code 18-1030. I told you about it earlier. It's the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. Protected computers. These are called protected in computers. You can get 10 years in prison. And it applies, by the way, it applies to foreign nationals hacking votes and or software. Pay attention, foreign nationals hacking voting machines and software. Then the other one they have is the conspiracy against rights. That's U.S. Code 18241. I told you about that. That's the conspiracy status. Then you have the Foreign Agents Registration Act, the FARA, money laundering, conspiracy changes, etc., Voting Rights Acts, U.S. Code 52, all the provisions. And then actually you have what's called the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act, and that's where they can sanction the country. Okay? So now let's deal with this. Venezuela, Serbia, Kazakhstan. Insert any country. Can the United States convict a foreign country of any of these acts? Put it in chat. Can the United States of America convict any foreign country of these acts? Put it in chat, yes or no. Can they convict? No, they cannot convict. It cannot be done. Here's why you need to understand. A foreign country, and by the way, pay attention because this is all you hear. Venezuela did it. Serbia did it. The United States has zero powers to convict a foreign country. The only thing the United States can convict is if they can find an individual that was doing it, like an intelligence officer, on behalf of the country. Okay, so let's go back. I'm going to give you a little more depth. Has this ever happened in the United States of America? That we know, in fact, we have foreign actors doing bad things to our elections. Anything. Screwing with the software, hacking, whatever. Well, I told you, here's what you need to know. There were 12 Russian military intelligence officers that the DOJ indicted for conspiracy to commit computer crimes. These were for hacking democratic entities, stealing data, targeting state election infrastructure. 12 Russian military intelligence officers. Remember, I told you they can't prosecute a country, so they got to find individuals within the country who are operating on behalf of the country. Those are intelligence officers, okay? Were any of those 12 intelligence officers from Russia convicted? Put it in chat. Not a one. Not a one. Not a one. Here's what I'm getting to the point of: manipulating the software, manipulating the machines, changing votes, swapping data. And I'm now laying in also foreign actors, and we know it was foreign actors. Zero. Iran did it too. Iran did it all through the 2020 election to the 2024 election. Okay? And under the acts that are called Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act, they proved it was Iran. And they proved it was vote-related access. Not a conviction, not an indictment, not a trial. Not one. Not one. Zero. Zero. Now, let me ask you a question. All of this time, talking about with China, it's Serbia, it's Venezuela, it's this. Well, they have an office in Serbia. So the freak what? It means nothing. It's not against the law. But they do it. And he posted a Satan hat on his website. But we canvass and everybody believes that. Going back to this one election integrity person saying, but I personally canvassed door to door like 1,000 homes and they this or that. I didn't say, but I should have. Okay, wait. Let me tell you this. You think this really happened? You think it was done? It was foreign actors. They changed the votes. They swapped the votes. That's why Tina's in prison, because you knocked on 1,000 doors. Do you think I could go in Colorado there, knock on 1,000 doors and find people that think Trump's a pedophile and will give us the opinion if we canvass Trump as a pedophile? Does that mean if you can get 1,000 of those people to give you that opinion, you can go prosecute Trump? You see why those don't work? It's standard rule of law. They do not work. Okay. Now get ready. Pay attention. Here's what I'm going to swap. I'm going to get rid of the machines. I'm going to get rid of the hacking. I'm going to get rid of foreign nationals. I'm going to get rid of programmers. I'm going to get rid of software. And now let's just look at a few things. Have there ever been convictions for counterfeit ballots, stealing ballots, changing or altering ballots, physically tampering with ballots, and anything having to do with forgery or theft or conspiracy laws? By the way, folks, give me a thumbs up for this stuff. You're getting a master PhD education in this. So now I threw all the algorithms, all the foreign actors, all the Russia, all the China, all the Serbia, all the Venezuela out the door. And I'm only asking, what about counterfeit ballots? Now, these have federal laws as well, federal and state. U.S. Code 5210-307, the Voting Rights Act. You cannot do things that modify it when you're dealing with the paper. And that includes ballot tampering, fraudulent ballots. U.S. Code 52-20511, National Voter Registration Act. U.S. Code 18-241, Conspiracy Right Acts. All the same laws. Now, the only difference is, pay attention. The only difference is I got the same statute of laws, but all I've refused to do is, okay, I don't want anything with machines. I don't want anything with software. I don't want anything with changing votes. I just want to focus on the paper. In law, state and federal law, if you have the paper, it is the easiest case to prove, and it guarantees both state and federal convictions. The last one was Michael Ozzie Myers in Pennsylvania. Did you pay attention to this one? This was stuff that he did in 2014 to 2018 elections. This was a congressman, not a county recorder at all. He got caught with the paper. He got convicted, got 30 months in prison because it could show that he inserted paper that changed the vote. It was a clear case of altering and changing ballot counts, period. Conviction. But what did it involve? The paper. Kim Fong Taylor, Iowa, the 2020 election. This one's a unique one because it resulted in 52 individual convictions. 52 individual count convictions. Yeah, she fraudulently requested, filled out, and submitted absentee ballots. She got 4 months in prison and home in confinement for 4 months. But it was convictions, 52 counts, 26 false information, registering, voting, 3 fraudulent registration, 23 fraudulent under federal statutes. But it got convictions. Those are just the 2 most current ones. It goes back in time. You can go back to 1982 in Illinois. Now, Illinois, I call the Obama state. I think we can agree Illinois is as crooked as they come. Right? As crooked as they come. That it's been practicing crap, period. If I just took Illinois during that time, there were 62 indictments that resulted in 58 convictions. It is the largest single documented case of ballot stuffing, falsifying counts as a result of those ballots, etc. 62 indictments, 58 of the 62 were convicted. Now you understand where they learned to stay away from the freaking paper? By the way, if you come to the indictment and conviction part, what most people don't realize is there's 1,600 documented cases. $1,600 documented cases, all involving the physical ballots. Yet here we are. The system has never, ever convicted people based on, oh, they swapped the votes in the machine or the software, the programs or foreign countries or whatever, until one person, Tina Peters. And conveniently, everything they needed to get a conviction on every single count magically happened in her case. What are the odds of that? Little old Tina Peters against Iranian hackers, Chinese hackers, Russia generals, and they could never convict any of those, but they get little old Tina Peters. It was planned. That's my opinion. And case law proves it. Yet here we are. Some people will say, well, Jovan's just jealous that we now know it was the Serbians with Venezuelans. I'm not jealous. I'm focused. I'm focused on what gets convictions and get it stopped. Do I think foreign bad actors do bad stuff in elections, influence, or whatever? Of course they do. Do I even waste my breath or time with it? No. Why? I want it to stop. So I focus decidedly from the very beginning. If the ballot is the only evidence you need, where you can show before and after, and the ballot speaks for itself, and we don't have to rely on anonymous whistleblowers, former CIA agents, former FBI operatives, and you don't have to rely on anything except one physical piece of evidence. What is that? The ballot. And when you weigh this is like in a court. That's why we have the scales of justice. It's called bopping, right? Balance of probability. The scales tip this way with over 1,600 cases, convictions, and all this stuff. And over here, you can even have some of the most horrendous countries in the world, and not a thing gets done. And the one little lone marker in the books in those two categories just ironically happens to be Tina Peters. Now, let me tell you how I look at this from the balance of probability scales, folks. What are the odds when the system pulls its big-ass trigger to do this and to make its balls-to-the-wall runs to take over the United States of America like they did in 2020? What are the odds? All of these things happened, but the lone little conviction is Tina Peters, and it's a textbook case of it. Textbook case. From the very people saying, it's the machines, it's the machines, it's the machines, it's the machines, it's a polydiagonal factor pterodactyl diseasism. Swear to Jesus. Let's pray to Jesus real quick. Swear to Jesus. Straighten my bow tie. What are the odds of that? When even throughout history, with the face of foreign governments, even the entire force of the United States couldn't get anything done. Yeah, there's the little convenient fact she's a Republican, But you understand what I'm saying? None of this happened in a single party system, folks. This isn't Democrats against Republicans. This is deep state. And there's more activity on the right trying to convince people what it is when the president of the United States is focusing on what's right, saying, here it is, get these damn voter rolls, here it is. But everybody said, wait for the announcement of the announcement. It was a pterodactyl of the pterodactyl, predactyl, ferdactyl. What are the odds of that, folks? You can see it for yourself. All of these people are paraded around. It's all a competition of influencers having a break-in story and this and that and that and this. But history shows you want to fix it, you want to get this crap out of there, you focus on the paper. So I discussed this because somebody recently said, well, I'm just jealous that everybody's talking about Venezuela and Serbia. No, I'm not. God bless every person in every way that works on election integrity. But there's productive work, there's busy work, there's bullshit work, and there's psychological warfare work. I work on the productive side. I want results. Period. I want results. And by the way, when the paper speaks, hey, I was supposed to be a mail-in ballot, but it wasn't a mail-in ballot. You know who the hero is? The paper. There are no bragging rights. It's just what the paper said. It's not somebody's opinion. It's not somebody's super secret, incredible polynomial discovery. It's not. So for everybody out there thinking about these formulas and the methods where you kind of got to look at them sideways, I'll go back for election integrity. Okay, we'll take Tina Peters' case. They said they canvassed 1,000 homes and 1,000 homes showed the votes were switched. How would a voter at home know their vote was switched? So it couldn't have been. Well, that's actually called an opinion poll, whether it's a canvas or not. And so I play it back to you. Let's just go take Mesa County. If you knocked on 1,000 doors and 1,000 people believe, well, that candidate shouldn't have won because we went and voted and we outvoted their ass. The first thing I ask you is that proof? No, never will be. It's an opinion. The second part of it is, could the left go in that very same county, knock on doors, ask people in a canvas, did you vote? Yes, I voted. Do you think President Trump's a pedophile or a murderer or the Jews did it? Yes, yes, yes. Oh, can you sign here for me? And that proves the formula, and therefore you have proof that Trump is really bad. That's why it means nothing. Nothing. Nothing at all. And never will. Because it's still just a version of an opinion poll. But the one thing that's there in the hands of bad guys and or good guys is that physical piece of paper, which they do their best to get rid of that shit as fast as they can. That's my point, folks. God bless Tina Peters. Is she a hero? She's been through a lot. She's been abused. She's been used. They've raised money off of her name. Right? The story's convoluted. In my book, she was targeted. She's even on the record. She had no problem in her elections until somebody says, well, look at this guy, come to this guy, come to this guy. Well, you know, if I just could have a place to test, we think it may have happened here too. And that she falls for it, but it's never her hands. Never her hands. Now, I want to remind you of one thing you probably forgot. Long ago with January 6th, when they came out with charges against President Trump for a coup, they basically said back then he had committed a coup. Now, I told you way back then, go back and audit me. I said, here's what's going to happen. I told you months in advance. They are going to change from coup to a conspiracy to commit a coup. Remember me telling you that? Where'd all the lawsuits come out? They changed it to conspiracy to commit a coup. And that is what they charged Trump on. Well, he really didn't do it, but he insinuated it. I told you that flex was coming. Well, they learned that flex back then, and that's why they said, well, it's conspiracy, and that's why Tina got hit with it. Do you think that's a coincidence? And do you think the very things, a lacking system that could never get a conviction before on machines, on software, or foreign actors could never, ever, ever, ever get it to happen, magically somehow got it on Tina Peters in both damn categories? What are the odds of that? I'm telling you, the odds are it was a setup. They knew what they were doing. They needed it in this category. And even though Tina's out, they'll forever go, well, she admitted to it. She was wrong and it was it. And she did this. And so, yeah, foreign actors on machines, assets, changing numbers, all crap. Okay, folks, I'm headed over to locals. Join me over there. We're just going to have a candid discussion of why you had Mega Marathon Week and I wasn't in the live seat. We're going to kind of talk about it all and what's going on. Join me over there. And you have 2 download documents over there. I just want to let you know, I love you all. I appreciate your being here, and it's nice to be back in the seat. Share this program.
King Xerxes offers his respect, Mom. All he asks is that Sparta kneels a simple bow and your people will be spared.
Don't call me ma'am.
My apologies, miss. Xerxes is generous. He only wants your loyalty. Surely even a delicate thing like yourself can understand that.
I said don't fucking misgender me!
Ma'am, calm down. No need to get emotional.
It is sir! Rennie Good was a gifted soul, a writer and a poet and a mother, wow. She tried to hit an agent with her car, oh no! Pop, motherfucker, now she's gone! Yeah, yeah, yeah! Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-headed fuckables with the septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease! You fuck around and find out it's what it is! Homo started talking shit to protect a chomo. He was getting nicked when he pulled a gun. Bam, motherfucker, now you're gone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired fuckables with the septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease. Fuck around and find out what that is. Yeah.
Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County Full Forensic Audit Archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now.